Actually, like I was like a psycho, like I was a psych patient. I can't describe it, but it's bearable. Even though it is bearable, it's still unbearable in the most bearable type of way, if that makes sense.
That doesn't make no sense. My man.
Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am Dr. Anne and this is the Health Hub. So if it's your first time here, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. This video is about, it's a bit of a story time. It's about my labor and delivery. I hope I shed some light about, labor and delivery and how I managed to finesse my way through non-medicated natural birth. So I hope you enjoy this video. So without further ado, let's get to the video. My first pregnancy was in 2018. The whole pregnancy was just a breeze. The only thing that was a bit problematic was the fact that I was craving literally everything. I had no specific cravings. I was just eating and eating and eating. Basically, there was really nothing remarkable about the pregnancy. Everything was smooth sailing. I had no complications. I picked up no illnesses during the pregnancy. The only thing, however, that I did pick up is a lot of weight. I gained around 20 kgs.
Oh my God.
I do not have a conventional medical aid. I have a hospital plan because I don't find it necessary for me to have medical aid. Currently, I don't wear glasses. I don't need it for anything. So I had a hospital plan when I was pregnant. And basically, if you don't know, a hospital plan, it's also a type of medical aid, but it only pays for hospital admissions and basically tests and everything basically that happens, but only during admission. So anything that's outpatient, with GP visits and etc., you have to pay out of pocket. The only thing our challenge that I experienced was the fact that I was still I was an intern, and you get sent around, you walk a lot, you work a lot, and I mean, you don't want to fall pregnant during internship, but I did. And the annoying thing about being pregnant and working as a doctor is the fact that you have to do calls. And basically, with regard to doing calls or overtime, we meant to do 80 hours on top of the 8 to 4 that we have during normal weekdays. So it's basically that, and plus 80 hours of overtime that you have to do. The workload wasn't that much because it was in a small hospital, but you still have to put in the hours. They still call you in the middle of the night. So normally how a weekday call would work is that you go to work from 8 to 4, and then at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, that's when your call starts until the following day. Only you can only leave at like 1 o'clock, because most departments did not have post call. So basically I would be up for 36 plus hours. So I think that was the biggest challenge, and it's a challenge that I experienced especially towards the end of my pregnancy. So they say doctors don't make the best patients, and of course I wasn't the best patient. Like sometimes I just ask my friends at work to do scans for me instead of actually going to my gynecologist, and sometimes I'd like skip some months. First visit was, I made sure that it was within the first trimester. So a scan that is done within the first trimester is the most accurate. Basically, before announcing my pregnancy to everyone, I try to wait until the 20-week mark, because that's when the fetal anomaly scan is done. It basically checks if the baby is normal or there's any abnormalities. And I feel like, to me, that's the best time. At least then the chances of you getting a miscarriage are a bit lower. And also, if you're faced with a decision whether to keep the baby or not, then you don't have to face the judgment of people. Like, you don't have to explain a lot of things to a lot of people. And it's usually around that time when you start showing. And at that time, actually, your pregnancy has already sunken in. There's no denial. You are properly pregnant. So I was due around the 7th of December. So what basically started happening, which showed me that I had, I was close to labor, was that I started having Braxton Hicks contractions. So around that week of my delivery, I started getting them quite a lot and quite often. I went to my doctor. My suitcase was in my car, and I went, got there. Like any Gynaes office is full as hell. You have to wait 3 hours to see a doctor.
You tripping, bro. You tripping.
Why is it like that though? And 3 hours later, I find out that I have hypertension, gestational hypertension. And she was like, no, man, you're 39 weeks today. So just, have me admit you. You still, and then she checked me, she did a scan, the baby was fine. So then I went to Life Hospital, Parkland Hospital in Springs. You'll know it if you're from that side. She was like, oh, if you're ready, we can admit you and, just induce you and see what happens. So I was like, that's fine. My bag is in my car. I am ready. Let's go. So I took my bag. I literally walked into that because I already had gone to the hospital to have a look at the maternity ward and whatnot, and they showed me that they do water births and stuff like that. I was like, yes, 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 I want that. So I was, quite aware and familiar with the place, which is something that most women should do. You can't be going there the first time, when you're in labor. You have to go there. So yeah, I go into the maternity ward. They put the CTG, check the baby's fine. I'm getting contractions. They're around like two, three every like they were like 2, 3 every 10, 15 minutes, but they weren't strong enough. They were still like Braxton Hicks. They were quite mild. So yeah, I was chilling in the room, weighed myself, saw that I'd gained 3 more kgs on top of the 20. Listened to stuff, watched YouTube on my phone. I was having a ball. And then come nighttime, they start doing blood pressure checkings. They put me on blood pressure medication. The induction was meant to happen around 1 a.m. the morning of the 30th. Early hours, a nurse, they were so nice. 1 a.m. the nurse comes in. She's like, your baby has a bit of a, the baby's heart is racing, quite fast. So I don't know if I should give you the induction because the doctor had already prescribed it. So the doctor's like, no, there's fetal tachycardia, so we will not, don't induce her. I will do a Caesar the next day. I'm a doctor, so I know indications of a Caesar, what to do when a person has fetal tachycardia. There was no intrauterine resuscitation, there was no nothing. So I was really not impressed by the fact that she was prepping me without having done anything. So anyways, the nurse, thank God and bless her soul, is on time. No, let's give you something to relax. Maybe you're also nervous because we're about to give you the induction. So let's give you something to relax you. She puts out a drip. She basically does intrauterine resus. Baby's heart rate goes down to like 130. I was probably just dehydrated. And I'm like, yeah, don't. I'm like, induce me. Like after the heart rate was like around 130, I literally was like, please put in the gel, put in the pill. Like, let's get this going. Like, let's get things going. She's like, but let me just call the doctor just to be safe. Hey, nothing happened. Or it was just Braxton Hicks 2.0. Like, they were just a little. I mean, what have they been crying for? Like, I can do this. I am superwoman. So the nurse comes to check me around 6 o'clock before they change over at 7. My heart just literally sunk. I was like, damn, I'm gonna get the Caesar. I was like, can you just put in the gel again? Don't worry about it. Let me put in the gel again quickly before she comes. She puts in the gel and she does a stretch and sweep. I literally lost my mind. I have never felt that much pain in my whole entire existence. Now, a stretch and sweep is when you put in fingers into and feel for the cervix, And basically you put your fingers through the cervix and stretch and sweep, and it also causes release of prostaglandins, which then results in you getting contractions. And I've done that to so many people, and I was like, I just regretted it. It was just almost like payback, like for all the things that I have done. So an hour after the stretch and sweep, new nurses come in. Now my blood pressure it's high. It's in the 150s. Hey, I think it was just because of the pain. I stood up, right? That's when I knew that things were starting to happen because I felt the urge to go to the bathroom to pee. Yay! I was holding on to the wall for dear life. I had never felt that much pain, but it was better. It was still better than the stretch and sweep, but it was painful. I literally, like, I don't cry. I cry, but pain normally doesn't make me cry. I cry because of like emotional things, but pain normally doesn't bring me to my knees that easily. But let me tell you, I was holding on to the wall. I shed a tear. And the nursing assistants, they were like, eh, sisi, awulilwa ke apha. Yo, I was just like, wipes tears. Hey, I literally wiped my tears. I was like, yay. I told myself, now this is the moment that you have been waiting for. And I think that's what you have to tell yourself. Otherwise, you will change your mind. You will ask for a Caesar. You will ask for an epidural. Especially if you're trying to go the whole natural route, you will literally beg them for a Caesar if you're not here in your mind. I shed a tear, wiped my tears, went to the bathroom. They were just happening on their own. Contractions just started happening on their own. And they were happening, I think, once every 10 minutes. And it's almost like in between, you're back to normal. Like you can literally like walk, dance, like be on the phone, eat. But the moment that time hits, yeah, I can't describe it. Then the doctor came in. It's like, so we're going for your Caesar. I'm like, what Caesar? It's like, oh, did you even get induction? I'm like, yeah, she started the induction, and yeah, she's like, oh, okay, and how are the contractions? I'm like, they are there, so there's no Caesar happening. She's like, oh, okay. And I kept on checking my CTGs. I mean, it's just bad. I couldn't turn the doctor in me off. So I would check my own CTGs. I was like, ish, I don't want my child to be, in fetal distress. So I was checking my own CTGs, rolling up the papers, checking. And they pulled bloods to check if I had any like preeclampsia because my BP was initially highish and everything was fine. She's like, oh yeah, okay, no, let's see. I don't want anything bad to happen to you. And that's the annoying thing about like gynecologists, which is why most people might opt for midwives, is that they play defensive type medicine, which I get because obs and gynae is one of those specialties where doctors are sued the most. They put through so much like judgment because obviously they're dealing with two patients, the mom as well as the baby, and basically no one can stomach that, like any faults or any mistakes when it comes to that. So yeah, with I understood where she was coming from, but I was just like, can you please give me a chance? Like, can you give me a chance? Please. Around 11, yay, things were happening. Things started happening. And this is only 2 hours after me getting contractions. My mom's sister came through. She was like, no, I'm going to come. She arrived around the same time as when my husband arrived. And sure, at that time my water had already broke because I was lying down, and after that water broke, oh, oh my god, just when you thought that you felt the worst pain, something else happens, and you just like, you don't know why. Like, I couldn't even understand why I was crying initially. And it was the type of pain that just made me weak to my knees. Like, you can't, like, it just makes you weak. Like you just want to like fall into a hole and have someone save you from your own damn self. Actually, like I was like a psycho, like I was a psych patient, but I didn't even make sense at the time. And weird thing, I had forgotten that there was such a thing as an epidural, but it wasn't in my mind. Like I didn't even put it in my mind. Also, I was scared to get a Caesar. Like, I'm so scared of C-sections. I have performed C-sections myself on people, but hey, I was just like, no, maybe the pain of a C-section is worse. That injection that they put on your back, maybe it's gonna make things worse. In my mind, I told myself that this pain is better than the C-section pain, and plus I know that once it's gone, once I'm done, things go back to normal. I don't have to think about any other pain, so let me just endure this couple of hours of pain, and power through it. Like they could see I was in so much pain. She was like, no, let's give you something for like pain. I don't know, I think it's like an antihistamine. I think it was Atarax. I'm very tender-headed. I'm very light-headed. It doesn't take a lot to sedate me. They gave me that. I was drooling. I was falling asleep in pain. And weird thing, it's like you're in pain, but in a state of like dreamy type, pain. And every time the contractions came, they'd wake you up from like the deepest sleep. And I was literally sleeping in between contractions. I was drooling. They made me sit on the ball. I was bouncing. My husband is there at the time. My aunt is also there. And I'm bouncing on this ball, and he's rubbing my back. Shame, poor guy. His back was probably broken. It went through a lot, but it doesn't matter because I was going through a lot more. So yeah, I was bouncing on that ball for like hours. They also starved me because the doctor kept on thinking that it's like, no, you can't eat. You might go for an operation. So I couldn't eat. I wasn't drinking anything either. And yeah, so I was just bouncing on that ball. She came to check me. I was 6 centimeters, around 1 o'clock, and then she was like, "Oh, but there's a bit of kaput." Like Gynaes always try to finesse people. There's a bit of kaput. There's like 1+ kaput and 1+ molding. So yeah, I think it might be CPD. I'm just like, but lady, that's not the definition of CPD. I was literally like, I'm just like, I can only imagine why the Caesar rate is so high. It's because gynaes are always trying to finesse people into getting a C-section. Like, it was so unnecessary in my case. And I was like, no, but it's still 1+. It's still 1+ molding and 1+ kaput. So it's not that there's CPD. And CPD is when the baby's head can't go through the pelvis because there's that disproportion. So it's cephalopelvic disproportion. I was like, no, come back later. I was literally chasing her away, like, no, come back later. My aunt now started feeling sorry for me. She calls my mom. She's like, she's in so much pain. What do we do? My mom is like, oh, what does she have on her head? They're like, no, I have chondros. Like, that's probably what's holding her back from getting the delivery. So my aunt gets something. She's like, no, let's go get castor oil. I'm like, oh my gosh, really? I'm not gonna drink that. I'm like, wait a bit, I'm not gonna drink that now. So I was like, no, let's wait a bit. She's like, okay, let's undo these cornrows because anything that ties up your head slows down the process of labor. So it's also another superstition. So she starts undoing my cornrows. Yo, I started looking like it felt, I didn't even know where the pain was coming from. The pain was coming from the head, and the fact that she was pulling my hair, it was just a mess. Like it was drama, and I'm bouncing on the ball. My husband is rubbing my back. My aunt is pulling my hair. I look like a hot mess. 5 o'clock, I'm like 9 centimeters, close to 10. Yo, when they said that, no, it's time for you to go to the delivery room, I stood up like I wasn't feeling anything. I stood up and walked. Hey, I stood up and walked like that man, like the blind man in the Bible. Like I stood up and I walked to that delivery room and got on that bed. I don't know, the contractions were no longer there somehow. Like I couldn't feel any, I just wanted the baby out. I got there, they called the doctor. The doctor was already coming. She arrives. She's like, "Oh, you're about to deliver." I'm like, "Yes." So around 6 o'clock, I'm in that room, and I'm pushing. And basically, the most painful part is the contractions part, but the pushing part is almost like you need a bit of strength for it. So the annoying thing is that also you have to wait for the contractions to push. Because I was just like, I don't want to tear. Like I don't want to tear. she was like, okay, no, I can feel you're a bit tired, so let's do an episiotomy. I was just like, okay, I don't mind that because I don't want to tear all over the place. I'd rather just deal with one line. Yeah, so she did the epis. I couldn't feel anything. At that point in time, um, I just wanted to push. And I remember there was, you get trial runs. You push, nothing happens. You push, it comes back. You push, and you're like, so basically 20 minutes in. So basically they call this that urge to push. And it's like no one tells you to do that. It's like that contraction that you know that this one is the one. Now you have to push. I was literally like just praying to God that my child is safe and everything. I was just in a world of my own. And I remember something in me telling me, this is it. Now this is the time. I literally then just pushed. My baby had a cord around the neck times two. So when I pushed, the head appeared. The cord was there was a cord around the neck, so they had to cut that to release that. So they tell me to stop. I'm like, but how? Like how do I stop when it's halfway? How do I suck a bit? Like what must I? And the baby came out crying with a deep ass voice and was so happy. I was like, oh, thank God for this whole process. I was really happy. And basically, it's in that situation where you actually like see God and God's work. And basically, you just see that doctors, we actually don't do much, it's just to assist in that whole process. So, baby was delivered, baby was 3.44 kgs. The moment the baby comes out, you feel nothing. Like it's just like a relief. Like basically everything stops, you don't feel nothing, things are back to normal. It's the best feeling ever. And got stitched up after. I didn't even feel the pain. I wasn't even thinking about the pain. I was thinking about my baby. And yeah, things were normal. I walked back to, that's the nice thing about, natural birth. Even if you get stitched up, like Dr. Jackie will say, the vagina is forgiving. I was happy, my aunt was happy, everyone was happy. They left. I was left with my baby. I was tired as hell because I hadn't slept overnight and I was hungry. Literally, I was eating everything and anything. I've never eaten that much my whole entire life. And I remember after eating, I literally died. I slept. And I remember baby started crying around 9 p.m. Literally, I just pressed the bell to call the sister. I was like, she's crying. I was like, she's crying. I'm tired. Like, I'm tired. I'm sorry. I'm tired. I know it's my baby. I know it's mine, but I'm tired. Can you please tend to her? Shame, they were so understanding. They changed her, and yeah, whatever. I breastfed after, and basically that was that. So my experience in was overall really nice. The nurses were helpful. The following day, they gave the baby injections. They called us to come see how to bath a newborn, the types of products to use. So it was really a nice experience for a first mom. Even if like people assume that when you're a doctor you know everything, no, you don't. You don't know. No one teaches you in medical school how to raise a baby, how to breastfeed a baby. Basically, you don't get taught all those things, and unfortunately, it's life that teaches you that. So the nurses were actually great in assisting in that, having the baby latch because I struggled with that because I have an inverted nipple. So they really assisted with that. And the nurses were also really nice. The nurse showed me like what to do in order to have my stomach snatched back in time, the types of exercises, how to clean up down there to try to prevent infections. Because really, man, like nurses, I know people will say no, doctors are the one, but nurses are on the ground. So we know textbook things, basically. We don't know life things. Nurses deal with people and they know life skills and life tricks of the trade. They know what to do when you do this. Because doctors really, we just get there and we write a script, we get there, whereas they're the ones who see some of the problems. So they showed me what to do in my postpartum in order to avoid certain things. So yeah, it was overall a nice experience. So the hospital plan paid for everything. The whole thing cost around 36,000. Imagine. And that was just a natural birth. It was on 36,000. And they paid for everything. So if you choose to have your child put on your medical aid, they do it automatically and they pay for the child's thing. But if you don't, then the whatever medical aid you choose for your baby will take care of the baby costs, because the baby also has to be seen by a pediatrician and discharged and weighed and immunized, etc. So overall, nice experience. So I hope this video helped some moms who are probably going to be going through the same process, just to try ease your mind. It's not hard, it's easy. It's not easy. It's not easy, it's doable. And you must stick with what you want. Also, it helps to be informed, because when you're informed, you're able to challenge, not even challenge, you're able to challenge your doctor. You're able to question some of the things and talk to them, because I see some people just like okay, yes, yes, yes to everything, which makes sense because obviously the doctor went to medical school, they know everything. But sometimes they're trained with some gynecologists is that if they know that they're going on holiday like the following week, they'll induce you before your time, or knowing that it's gonna fail, or they will hide behind, a condition that you might not even be aware of, and call it an indication to you getting a C-section. Because I mean, a C-section is easy. I mean, they only come to see once, and they take you to theater. A Caesar is plus minus 10, 15, 20 minutes, and then they're done with you. It's planned, then you know the exact time, the exact moment. Everything is set up properly, so they don't have to, it's not unpredictable, so they don't end up being called while they're sleeping. So it's very, very it works for the doctor to have a patient do Caesars. But I prefer gynaes who will be upfront with you and say, okay, I only do Caesars, so that you know from get-go that, okay, with this one I'm going to this one, and I know at the end of the day I'm gonna get a C-section. Because sometimes they'll hide behind the fact that they say yes, they pro natural, but then when it comes to the crux of the matter and you're in a situation, they sort of want to sway you into getting a C-section. So it helps. Like I like it when people are more informed and question things and ask questions, and basically ask the relevant questions regarding their health. Because I've heard of the weirdest situations of people getting C-sections for HIV. Like, come on, like, no, like, it's not an indication. And it's not like, can we just try and move? Because a C-section on its own is a very serious operation, and some people have lost their lives, some people have died. A Caesar is a very serious operation on its own. So it shouldn't be taken lightly. It should not be taken lightly. I always say, always try. If it fails, or you can't, there's a problem and you can't give birth naturally, or during the process problems are seen, we can always do a Caesar. But once you pick a Caesar, there's no, turning back. I hope this video was helpful and you learned a bit of something. Yeah, so thanks for watching. Make sure you like this video, comment, subscribe. Tell me a bit of your stories. Have you ever been finessed by a gynecologist into getting a C-section? If so, just comment and let's just interact. So yeah, thanks for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, and watch out for my next video as well. Thanks for watching.